Hey everybody, welcome in and welcome back. It has been a minute since I've made a video. As I've said many times, been in the middle of a move, still working and kids and everything. So hard to get in here every day like I originally planned to do, but I am back. Sometimes it's more therapeutic to talk about losses than wins. I feel like I need to come on here more and vent after losses to kind of either bring myself back to center and maybe some of the people in the fan base too. Whereas after a win, it's just like, yeah, they kept winning. Not much else to say. Last time I talked to you guys, the Mariners were in the middle of a 10 game. Well, they'd won 10 in a row last video I made after sweeping the Nationals in a doubleheader. They proceeded to sweep Texas and get the streak to 14. Julio put on a show at the Home Run Derby. Ty France made the All-Star team as well. Good for him. AL won that. Mariners come home for a big series against the Astros, and they get swept. So very Mariners of the Mariners to do that. But I'm going to tell you guys why I'm just not going to overreact to a 3-game series against the best, maybe not the best team in baseball, but certainly a team that is in that conversation with the Yankees and Dodgers right now for the best team in baseball. It does happen. The streak was not going to last forever. The Mariners were unfortunately not going to win 83 in a row, or whatever it was. Houston's a really good club. The Mariners played this series without arguably their best player in Julio Rodriguez. The Astros were missing Yordan Alvarez today, so, I mean, I'm not saying the Mariners are the only team that are having some injury issues. I think the thing that's a little more concerning, if you're a Mariners fan, is the injuries to Julio with the wrist and Jesse Winker today with the sprained ankle. Winker said he thinks he's okay after the game. Players have a tendency to do that in all sports. So I'm fine, because they want to push through and get back in there, but not always the case. So, Mitch Haniger's missed half the season. Now, his was a high ankle sprain. Looks like Winker's is not a high ankle sprain. He's able to play a couple innings on it, but certainly, concerning nonetheless. And then the Julio wrist injury, I wouldn't be too worried about it. I am a little worried that he wasn't even able to pinch hit. Like, he wasn't even available to play in this series. That concerns me a little bit. If it was something where it's like, we want him to take it easy. If we have an at-bat where he needs a pinch hit, he can. I wouldn't be worried at all. But he hasn't even been available. And I think the reason for that is they want to hold off in case they do have to put him on the IL. They want to be able to make it retroactive. So if he would have taken that bat yesterday, you can't make that retroactive to Friday. So if it's on like the 10-day DL or the 15, I was it 15 or 10, I don't remember anymore, you can use these 3 games counting towards his injured list stint. Not the end of the world that Julio missed 3 games, but definitely a little concerning. If he's out tomorrow again, I'm going to think it's probably going to end up in an injured list stint, unless it's something like, hey, 1 more game and we know he's coming back tomorrow. But if it's straight up just like, not ready, I get a little worried about that. And then, Winker being out. And the shame of it is it just all kind of unraveled this series 5 minutes before the series started. Julio gets scratched 5 minutes before first pitch. And then the third pitch of the game, Jose Altuve hits off Marco Gonzalez for a solo home run. It's just like, it was so close. You're getting Kyle Lewis came back. Upton was option and then elected free agency. And it's like, this team's finally coming together. Mitch Haniger started the rehab assignment. Kyle Lewis is back. You're feeling like this team is on a 14-game winning streak. They're in a playoff position, and now the team is becoming whole. You're getting some of these guys back. It's almost like a trade deadline addition with Kyle Lewis, and looks like Mitch Haniger here. I think Jerry DiPoto said by August, hopefully, is when they're looking at getting Haniger back in there. And then Julio gets scratched, and then the home run. You're just like, oh, man, what? This team just can't catch a break. It's been 20 years of not catching a break, which probably stems from some very poor ownership and management issues, because bad breaks don't last 20 years without some poorly run stuff going on. But, definitely kind of set the tone for the series, and it just unraveled from there. Marco wasn't very sharp on Friday. It's a shame because Logan Gilbert was on Saturday. The Mariners just, you're going up against Justin Verlander, and I swear the Mariners have gone up against Justin Verlander 27 times this year. Like, could we play the Astros in a series and not face Verlander once? Would that be possible? Nope, because we're going to face him again next Friday in Houston, so that's lovely. So you can't get on the Mariners too much. Verlander's fantastic. Logan Gilbert was great. That's a game that, like, Justin Verlander could be playing for the A's, and you're probably just going to lose that game because he's that good of a pitcher. You know what I mean? So the fine wine, Justin Verlander. Nothing you can really do about that. Logan was fine. Robbie Ray was not today. He was bad. It happens, guys. It does. Like, Felix Hernandez had some really bad starts every now and then. Robbie was on a tremendous roll. That was just like the 14-game winning streak. That was eventually going to come to an end. It stinks because they really could have used kind of like a salvage of the series today, but it does happen. It's not the first time a team has been swept in a playoff race. It is not the end of the world, guys. This team is still 14-3 in their last 17 games. They're still 22-6 in their last 28 games. They are currently with 66 games left in the season, 2 games up on a playoff spot at the moment, over teams that look like they have some serious flaws too. It's not like there's an Astros or Yankees that like has been playing really well but not getting the wins and is fully healthy chasing them. I think if you talked about the Mariners, the Guardians, the Red Sox, the White Sox, the Orioles, even the Blue Jays and Rays being in the race there, I think you'd say all those teams are good but flawed teams. Some may be better than others, but I don't think there's any reason the Mariners, I'm not saying they will. They might get caught by those teams. I don't know. They're decent ball clubs, so I'm not trying to say this like something's in the bag, but there's no reason to think the Mariners can't stave off those teams per se, essentially is what I'm saying. Like it's not like there's a Dodgers team that's just been underperforming. They're not going to hold that team off. All the teams below them are teams that the Mariners are capable of holding off in a race. Not saying they will, they might not, but they are capable of doing it. This isn't some wild scenario it's going to take for the Mariners to make the playoffs right now. And that's the good news. They're still 2 up on that. I know people say, well, they could have been 4 or 5 up. But, other teams are sitting there saying the same thing too. Like, Cleveland's probably thinking if we won 1 more against the White Sox, we'd be a game back. Baltimore thinking the same thing with their series. And Boston's thinking a whole lot of things right now after, that horrendous series they had against the Blue Jays. This is baseball, guys. It is a marathon. I know Mariner fans, we aren't used to being in playoff chases, but I can tell you that's what it is. You've got to survive the lows, and you got to ride the highs. Or not get too high on the highs and not get too low on the lows. I would have told you in the 14-game winning streak, take it 1 game at a time, enjoy it. It's awesome, but, just 1 day at a time, 1 day at a time. Don't get overly like this team is now going to catch the Astros. Don't get too low on the lows either. Like this series, don't let it defeat you. Texas is coming in. That's a winnable series. Hopefully you're getting some guys back. That would be nice. But this is not some sort of season-ending series. I think for Mariners fans, we're very used to like we just don't get in. So it's like we're just waiting for that shoe to drop. Like this is it. This is a series. It's going to tailspin out of control here, especially when you look at the schedule. It's like the Astros today, Texas coming in, who's not great, but not a bad ball club. And you got Houston and the Yankees on the road. I think the mindset is like, great, we're going to spiral and fall out of it. I can tell you, just hold your own. You've got, with the 3 with Texas, 4 with Houston, 10 with the Yankees, get out of that 5-5. You're probably still going to be in a playoff spot, and then see what happens. The schedule does get easier. There's a lot of series left with the A's still. After this next series with Houston, the Mariners are done with Houston for the season. That's it. They have 1 more series with the Astros. Don't have to play them again. You've got last series with the A's, the Angels. You still got a series with the Royals. You play the Guardians. You haven't been played them yet, so kind of control your own destiny there with the wild card. So I want to say they still play the Nationals again, actually, in a series in Seattle. So there are some Texas still. There are some winnable series left for this team to go on another roll. Hopefully, it doesn't have to be 14 in a row, but a 10-4, 13-6 kind of stretch to really get up there and hopefully secure a playoff spot. If you're nervous about anything, it should be the injuries, honestly. The Winker injury and the Julio injury. Sounds like neither is too serious. I think if they were really serious, we would have heard a little bit more of concern. But, if both are out tomorrow, not only is that a concern for that game, but you do start to worry about maybe the injured list, having to go on the IL. And, if you saw Friday, Kyle Lewis can't play the outfield. He's moving around slow as can be. You like his bat in the lineup, but he just does not look like he's ready to play the outfield. Mitch Haniger's still probably a couple weeks away. And Mitch Haniger hasn't been a vision of health himself. So you're a little worried about that as well. And him coming back, you can't just rely on that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If Winker is going to be out for an extended period of time and Julio, I do think you have to bring up Jared Kelenic. I was in favor of keeping him in AAA when the team was 9-10 games under because I didn't think they'd really get. I thought they had a chance, but I did not necessarily think they'd get back into the race. So I want to do what was best for Kelenic's development. And I still think you want to do that. You don't want to say, well, screw it, just forget his development, let's get him up here. But you're in a playoff race. You do have to put your best players out there. And right now, if you have to go with like Toro, Frazier, Moore, and Haggerty as your starting outfield rotation, that's just not what's best for this team. Your best bet is hoping that Jared Kelenic has found something and him coming up and being an everyday player. If Winker and Julio are going to be out for an extended period of time. It's not Marcus Wilson coming up. It's not re-signing Justin Upton. It is Jared Kelenic. He is the best bet for this team if those guys are out to succeed. I'm not saying he's going to be a savior. I'm not saying he's going to have an MVP finish to the season, but he's probably the best bet to be someone that can be an impact bat for you. That's not a trade. They could pull off a trade of some kind too. I don't know. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the real thing to keep an eye on if you're the Mariners. As far as this series goes, it doesn't change much. I doubt their playoff odds on Fangraphs or Baseball Reference even dropped that much, honestly. I mean, if you thought they had a chance at the division, I never really did, then yeah, that's probably gone. But that was a bit of a pipe dream. I think they were 9 back going in. Maybe if you sweep, you get it to 6. But even there, you're going to Houston for 4 next week. Then you're thinking, got to win 3 out of 4 there. Like you've got to really keep this going if you're going to catch that Astros team. So it is what it is. I never really had hopes of the division. Maybe next year, maybe in the future. We'll see. This team might be ready to compete for a division title. Just not quite there yet. And you might say, well, what does that mean? Why be excited about the playoffs? Because they can't compete with the Astros. It's not that they can't compete maybe with the Astros, just I don't think they were catching them. Coming into this series, they were 6-6 against Houston on the season. And if we're talking a 5-game series, maybe you get lucky and win a couple games and win the series. That's not impossible. That doesn't necessarily mean you're the better team winning a series. It just means you got hot at the right time. So, the Mariners have won series against the Astros this year, so it's not impossible they could do it. But yeah, I mean, and even these 3 games, they weren't disasters. It wasn't like 12-0 each game. They were outscored by a total of 8 runs in the series. They weren't nail biters, I guess you'd say. They didn't come down like the final at bat with the bases loaded. But, Kyle Lewis hits that one over Pena's head on Friday. If that gets down, that game might change. Yesterday they had a chance, some key moments to get that done. And then today, Maldonado has that one drop in the 8th inning, I think, off of Festa. If that's caught at 6-3, maybe Toro homers at 6-5. I mean, he did homer, but maybe that homer makes it 6-5 instead of 8-5. You never know. And listen, you can't play that game too much because the Astros might have done things differently too. You know what I mean? So maybe Montero starts the 8th and they don't allow the Mariners to score. Who knows? But the point is that, they weren't that far away here. I didn't walk away disappointed. They were swept, and they're a team in the playoff race. They've lost 3 in a row. That stinks. But nothing in that series. And they, like I said, without their best player, and I think I mentioned earlier, yeah, the Astros also didn't have Alvarez for this game. So it's not just the Mariners dealing with things, but Mariners were without their best player this series. So that does make it harder to win, obviously. So if you're talking to Mariners fans here, take a deep breath. Don't get too caught up in the, overreaction of it. I get the Mariners have disappointed us in the past. I certainly understand the frustration. I get it. Coming back home after that winning streak, you wanted to keep the good vibes going, but they can still go. They're 14-3 in their last 17. They're in a playoff position right now. Season ends tomorrow. They're a playoff team. I know the season does not end tomorrow, but for all the disappointment of this series, they are in. There's a lot of teams that would take the Mariners spot right now, despite this series against Houston. The only thing this series probably does, in fact, I'd say 100% does, is guarantee you're not winning the division. And I didn't think they were winning the division coming into this series. So, and I shouldn't say the only thing. The injuries are concerning, but that has nothing to do with the Astros series per se. That's just due with the injuries. So, I mean, yeah, it's disappointing that they lost these games. It'd be better if they win. But guess what? They're going to lose more games, guys. It's baseball. You know, there's 66 games left to go. They're going to lose some more. You know, so just hang tight, take a deep breath, reset tomorrow. Hopefully you're getting Julio back and even Winker in there. Maybe Winker gets a day off. That's fine. Hopefully Julio's back in there tomorrow. And you can reset and get a W and get back in this. They're 2 games up. They're in a playoff spot right now. It's not time to throw in a towel or be too concerned. Essentially, don't let it take down the good vibes of where this team is. Go to bed tonight knowing the Mariners are in a playoff spot. It's survival. Each day this team's in a playoff spot, it's a good thing. Trust me. As guys watch a lot of bad baseball over the last 20 years, take it. That doesn't mean they can't look for improvements. Hopefully I'm going to have a bit of a video about the trade deadline coming up, what I think they're going to add. I don't think they're going to get Juan Soto. I mean, that'd be great, depending on the cost. I think you're looking at more of a starting pitcher. I think they're going to look to add a guy similar to like what they got from Tyler Anderson last year. And I do think they try to get a bullpen arm. You can never have enough guys down there going into a September playoff push. And we'll see if the injuries to Julio, Winker are a little more significant. Maybe they do look at a bat. We'll see what happens there. So Mariners are 51-45. They are in a playoff spot. They are in a playoff spot right now. There's 66 games left. This is the grind. The grind includes losing some games, and that stinks. But sometimes it's not going to be pretty. Sometimes it's going to take another team losing. That's okay. A lot of other teams in that playoff race lost as well. They're 51-45. They're in a playoff spot. They have won 14 of 17. They are playing good ball. The series stinks. Guys, the Astros are really, really good. And I know we kind of love to hate on them and everything, but I don't get into that stuff. All I know is they have a really good baseball team. And it's unfortunate we got to see them again in a week, but do what you can do. You've got the Yankees and Astros coming up here. Then you're done with the Astros. Then that schedule does ease up a little bit. So, as always, go M's. Stay positive, guys. I'm telling you, it's going to be better for yourself, too, to stay positive. And let's enjoy this ride. This is part of it. The winning streak is awesome, but the losing streak can sometimes makes the wins feel better. We remember why it's so nice to win, because losing stinks. So hopefully they bounce back tomorrow and get a victory against Texas. Chris Flexen on the mound against Glenn Otto. So yeah, it's the same matchup as the last game before the All-Star break. So let's hope the Mariners bounce back, get a W tomorrow, and make the playoffs. I'll hopefully be back tomorrow. Probably not. I'll probably do a series recap against the Rangers. So I'll see you guys then. And as always, go M's.